Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Glimmer Gang Podcast, episode 14. We have a lot of new cards to talk about. My name is Teddy, and I am joined by two of our lovely co-hosts, Blake and Spencer. We are without our fourth co-host, Shawn, but he will be back with us next week. But boys, how are we doing? We have a lot to talk about. We just got some great cards revealed by Lorcana France on Twitter. So yeah, how you guys doing this morning?
Great. Awake.
Just I woke up just in time to see the card reveal drop, and that's a great way to start my day. I wish they would do that more often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a lot from last week too to go over. So
Yeah, I just woke. I'm never up this early. People know I always miss things, but today I was there in time. But just to jump right into it, we have the most cards in the past week and a half or so, 2 weeks, being an Amethyst. We have Zeus, Archimedes, Rafiki, and Sven, which have been released before. We've had these cards for a good amount of time. Well, not a good amount of time, but a week or so. But we just got Befuddle today. So what are your guys' initial reactions to the Befuddle? Let's start, because we just got that 40 minutes ago. It's straight removal early game, which is something that we didn't have, and it's going to be very pivotal to deciding who gets out of the gate quickly.
Yeah, more of a soft removal because it's just going back to the hand, but still can disrupt some plays. Can bounce like Pascals and
Baby Maleficent.
or maybe more the Baby Maleficent, so you can get rid of Pascal. And then I've seen people talking about using this in conjunction with an item deck and bouncing your own items so you can play your items again and get more hits off of Aerial.
There you
I
go.
don't know how viable that is, but it's an idea. It can be
Always
done.
gotta have ideas.
That is an idea. Uh, yeah, I think it's really cool. It's item hate, which we haven't seen a lot of. Right now, all we have is Beast, and so far, all of our items are 1 or 2 costs, so that's pretty valuable. Just slowing down your opponent. Also, it helps with those early game aggression sort of decks, and it'll help against another new card that we're going to be talking about here soon. And it's the first card that we've seen that calls out. Well, no, not really, because we have Rexar Stitch, so that also calls out abilities or cost and just in time. So never mind. But yeah, it's a nice little card. I think it's kind of a tech piece. I'm not sure if it's going
Yeah.
to be like mainstream just because it does only target cost 2 or less. So later on in the game, it might have a lot less values. And at that point, it kind of just becomes ink, which isn't too bad of a deal either. Just having a simple, easy card that you can go, I'm just going to ink this. Although items will get played later in the game, so it does still have value there. So I think it's a good solid card overall. It's a hate on the Stitch Turbo deck, which is we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So I'm interested to see how this card ends up in the meta, whether it's a staple or if it's kind of more just like a little tech piece people put in. Really, we can get into the whole sideboard conversation. This would be a phenomenal sideboard card,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
still don't think we're gonna have sideboards. Comment how you feel about that.
I feel like there could be like a custom game mode made with sideboards. I feel like something could get created, but right now off the bat, obviously we don't have sideboards in the rules. But what do you guys think of these other four cards? I know in past chances or opportunities of us trying to record this episode, we've gone over them. But just quick thoughts. What do you guys think of Zeus, Archimedes, Rafiki, and Sven? Because they do have some viability in this game.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah. I'll start with the easy ones, Archimedes and Sven. Just Archimedes being our cycle with our 1/2/2/1 cost. Nice toss in for every color. Sven, really nice stats. And then Zeus and Rafiki with Rush, very nice. And Zeus with the Challenger. It's also very nice. I am interested to see if there's going to be some sort of support with these zero attack challengers to kind of make them a little more viable on the backswing. But I think they're pretty solid cards. Yeah.
Like some kind of card that gives like all 0 power characters 2 power or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like some sort of thing that gives, like, on your opponent's turn, your zero attack characters have two power. Yeah.
Okay.
Something that makes Challenger permanent, which would be sick.
That would not, especially, yeah.
Okay, do you think that would be an action or an item, like would you play it down and that you just get it for the turn, or do you put the item down and you're able to, it stays in play and that effect lasts? Because now we do have cards that get rid of items.
I think it would be either an item or a character.
Okay.
Yeah. I could see it being an action, and if I see it being an item, I could see it being one that has you discard it or remove it in order to activate its effect, kind of like the frying pan, something like that. Have it sit on the field, and then when you're ready to pop it, you pop it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be neat. I think I'm on the same spot with, Archimedes. He's our standard 1-drop, and then Sven is pretty cool just because he gives us a vanilla at 6, so that we can start comparing, stat values at that 6 point, because 6 is where things start getting a little wonky with abilities and how much those things cost and what they're valued at. So having Sven be a nice, solid point of contrast is really nice. And then as for Zeus and Rafiki, both awesome. Rush is really cool. It really changes how you have to think about your lines of play, especially when going up against Amethyst, where they have these native Rush cards, which isn't a keyword that I thought would be like an Amethyst thing, but it is. So I've used both of them. I've found them both to be really impactful, and there's been a lot of debate between like Zeus versus Rafiki. I think a lot of that just comes down to whatever the curve of your deck is, and how much which one you can fit into the deck, and how many inkless cards you can afford. I think they're both good. Zeus, he hits at is cost, whereas Rafiki's kind of in that regards. He'll hit some high value ones, but he's not going to survive. Zeus can take out most other 4 costs and survive, and then still be a threat for your opponent, since he's got 2 lore, so they're probably gonna be swinging into him, which is just costing them lore in order to do so, which is nice. And then if he does survive, he does have that 2 lore, or he's a challenger threat, just makes him just really nasty to have on the table. So I'm a big fan of both of these cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Zeus, it's interesting with the 0 because he is basically you're giving him up in a way if your opponent has the ability to hit 4 and take him off the board, because he can't do anything back. It's a free swing if they want it. So that's like the one thing that shies me away. But I also could see like he has rush and he has challenge. So this is like quick swing. If he survives, you can get some lore off of him and stuff like that. That's like my lines of play I see with him. Obviously there's going to be more, but like he's, to me, just like that quick throw him down, let's get some lore or get some attack off and take something off the board. Rafiki also rush. I'm more into that card about the art. It's just so good. And then
Yeah.
Archimedes and Sven, just your normal, or not, well, Archimedes more than Sven. Sven is that first vanilla 6 cost, like Sneaky said. So I think all of these cards are very, I think every single card, or nearly every single card in this game has the ability to have a pivotal impact on a deck, whether it be a 1 of, whether it be a 4 of. There are still very much ways that these cards can play roles in different decks. So yeah, any more thoughts on our lovely Amethyst cards?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right, we're gonna head to
Not
Emerald
not
now.
if we not if we want to keep the podcast on time.
So we have our Emerald cards now. Genie has been around for a while, but I know Spencer loves this card, so we so nicely put it in there for him to talk about. But we also have Beast and Peter Pan. So Spencer, why don't you kick us off here with our Emerald cards? What do you think of all these?
Yeah, sure. So I'll save Genie for last, even though it's the one that's been out the longest. So Peter Pan is solid. He's our lowest cost native evasive that we've run into so far. He's really nice for dealing with those annoying Pascals or just floating up on top of things and just questing away, being evasive. And if you need to poke something, then he's got 3 power, which is pretty nice for him to just deal with some annoying little things that might be in your way that you need to get off the table. He is only a 2 willpower though, so that means he is a cannon's target. So you got to keep that in mind if you're playing against steel. Beast is interesting. So he's a 5 cost 4/4 with rush. So he costs 1 more than Zeus, but he keeps his 4 power. I've used him in some decks pretty effectively, even though he is a little understated for a 5 cost, and he doesn't trade very well into other 5 costs. He's been really effective just as a 5 cost 4/4 with rush. And then on top of that, he has his roar ability, which I've yet to use or be able to use. But with his little combo piece that just got released today, an hour ago, almost now, we might see that popping off a little bit more. But Roar says when you play this character, exert all opposing damaged characters, which is pretty nice. So it does give you a little bit of board control, letting you choose, who he's going to target. If your opponent's trying to keep somebody safe, if you have the right combo pieces to go with him. And then finally, we've got Genie, a 6 cost Inkless, 3/4 evasive, 2 lore with Disappear, which says when you play this character, you may return chosen characters to their players' hands. Genie's basically been taking the meta by storm right now. When we tried recording the when we tried recording the other day, I hadn't played with him, only against him, and had 4 genies in a row played against me.
Ooh.
And I was
Yeah.
I was feeling real salty because it just, man, there was literally nothing I could do. It just completely shut down my everything. But shout out to Franz dropping his Sapphire Emeralds Genie ramp deck last night, so I built one up. So I went and got in some testing with Franz's deck, and it was so now I just became a toxic Genie player myself.
Yeah, so I'll have to agree with you, Sneaky. I feel like Genie is probably one of the best cards we've seen. I haven't done a lot of testing recently. I won't lie. I haven't played as many games as I would like to, just due to being busy with work and all that. But just seeing all these decks that have been made, it's very refreshing to see that there are, like, one day, and obviously take this with a grain of salt because we still have over half the set to learn. But to see how, like, quickly meta has changed with just a few cards, it's very promising for what the future could hold. Because if you think about it, we're going to get set 1, but then we get set 2 3 months later, and that's going to be a whole plethora of new cards. By the end of the year, we're going to have over 400 cards to work with. And so I think that's just the crazy thing is there's so much more we have to go off of. But yeah, Genie's great. Beast with a card we're going to talk about later. It gets even better, that roar ability. And then Peter Pan, a low evasive is something that is great to see. It's something that I think evasive will run the board. It's a very powerful ability. With one of the cards we're going to see next, I think that there's ability there that rivals the number 1 spot, in my opinion, for evasive being the best trait or ability we have in the game. But Sneaky, I feel like you disagree with that.
I'm interested to see what card you're talking about.
So.
Oh,
okay. So, any other last thoughts on Emerald? But then we can get to Sapphire, and I can tell you guys.
Yeah, I really don't have too much else to add, other than, watching Genie be such an impressive force lately in the practice games. And yeah, Genie against Genie is also fun to watch.
That mirror match.
The mirror match. Just bounce yours, bounce mine, bounce yours, bounce mine. Never-ending cycle.
Yeah, it's called the Genie loop. And
I thought there's dubs already on all this stuff.
Well, it's like it's an interesting thing because you get into it and basically whoever has the better board state at that moment in time is slated to win. So then it puts you in this situation where you have to find your way out of it and trying to figure out if you have any sort of deck that can allow you to build your board state beyond your opponents without playing Genie or having enough ink to be able to play Genie and something else in order to build it up. And it's like whoever has more Genies in their hand wins, basically. So it's a really interesting situation. Or like if you have a Genie and a Let It Go in your hand, then like you can break your way out of the loop and stuff like that. So it's definitely been interesting, but sometimes you're literally just stuck there just in a Genie loop, and it's just whoever has the better board state is the one that's winning. It's just the way it is. So
okay, so I'll propose a question then. Do you think we will have to tech if you play Genie, do you have to tech in cards to your deck to try to avoid that? Is that something you think will be in play when the full set is released?
Your best options for that right now, I think, are ward characters, and that's about it. Or having Aurora on the Dreaming Guardian on the field to give everything on the board. Ward, so all they're bouncing is the Aurora. Yeah.
Let's just word characters and then removal. And so if you can remove their Genie from the board, and then if they don't have another Genie, then you can play yours, and then you're back on in the lead. If they have another Genie off of that, well then you just got to keep removing it.
Yeah.
And hope you have enough removal. So ward and removal are basically the answers to that particular situation.
For sure. But let's get into these Sapphire cards. So Sapphire cards. We have Merlin, Ariel, and Donald Duck. And Merlin brings to the table support, which we have seen on Hey Hey already. But 3 support is a lot better than what Hey had 1 or 2 maybe.
1.
Yeah.
1.
So like that wasn't doing much, but 3 is a game changer. With what we've seen with cost and stuff. So that was what I was talking about when it kind of rivals like that evasive. I think is the best ability in the game. That is the thing. Like if you don't have an evasive defense, then you're not really doing much else. But support, having that extra attack really helps. Move her to Ariel. You have item synergy now with that, and then Donald Duck, you have Ward in his Gundam mecha looking creation. But yeah, what do you guys think of Sapphire Cards, Blake? I'll throw it to you.
For the Sapphire ones, I'll actually go ahead and start with the Ariel. I actually did build a deck around items and stuff with her back when we had her first release, and I did have a lot of fun with her. Um, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more stuff come online with the item package. Definitely uh, need to see a lot more items to see what exactly pairs best with Sapphire, because right now only a few other inks have items. So really interesting to see if it what that other color is going to be, and what other things we get with it. I did almost win against Shawn with that deck, but I fell just short. And I just feel like there's a couple more cards that we need for that deck to really pop it off. Merlin, like you said, with the support, uh, really brings most cards to a whole nother level when 3 is added on. You have one cost that can take care of some 4 and 5 costs, and yeah, it just gets really nasty if you pair it well. And with rush cards too,
Oh yeah.
because they might not even see that coming. It's like you're playing Merlin out by himself, and it's like, what's Merlin gonna do? And then next turn you drop down a Beast, and then quest with Merlin, and now Beast is attacking for 7 against something that he has no business doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then
6'3" Rafiki.
Ooh.
yeah, yeah, six
So you
three
thought your
Rafiki.
Moana was safe? Sorry.
No.
Oh.
And then Donald, he's okay. The 3 willpower is what holds him back a little bit. Maybe if the stats were swapped around, but he is at least kind of a guaranteed 2 lore,
Mm-hmm.
which might be enough
And
for him.
yeah, and if you're playing Amber Sapphire, you have one jump ahead ability, uh, which
No, that's fair.
uh, so you can get it out quicker. If it's probably not the greatest one jump ahead card you want to play with using that action, but getting something that 2 lore down is still pretty good. I think we can't stress it enough. 2 lore is very game changing. Being able to like consistently do that, that's why Baby Maleficent's so good. Just even though she's a 1/1/1, the fact that she gets 2 lore off of her, and it does not cost a lot to get out, is very telltale of what that 2 lore does. But yeah, having like the one jump ahead ability to get the Donald out works. But I'm thinking if you're playing one jump ahead with Sapphire and Amber, that's not your main goal or target. But yeah, I think these 3 cards, like you said, Ariel, we need more cards. We need more items. We need to see what's coming from other colors. And then Merlin's just going to be an all around, I think, staple in most Sapphire decks with that support, just being able to ramp up everything. Because to think about it, you can ramp up Zeus if you wanted to, and he becomes, uh, a 7 4, which isn't bad. Yeah, any other thoughts on our blue cards, boys?
Yeah. So I like Merlin. I played him in that deck I was just talking about with Genie in it, and honestly, he just was never the right card to put on the field. So he just turned into ink over and over again. So I think it's really going to kind of depend. I honestly think adding that 3 power for support is a little bit of overkill. Um, but overall, he's a great card. I mean, when we look at like comparing 4 costs and Sapphire, so you've got Merlin 3/4, 1 lore with support, so you're getting double value off of when you quest versus um Maleficent's whatever her subtitle is, 3-4 for 2 at 4 cost. So she's just, more lore. And then you look at Ariel, who I like, but because I like her because she basically made the item slingers, TM Traverse Tavern again, uh, sort of more viable because now you actually, other than just getting items onto the board cheaper, now
Right.
there's actual value for
Yeah.
slinging items. It
Yeah.
gives you
Yeah, actually
a
getting to
purpose for
advanced
it.
the win condition. Yeah.
Yeah, it does something for you now. But at the same time, if you look at her versus Maleficent, Maleficent's a 3-4, Ariel's a 3-3. Maleficent can be inked, Ariel can't. And Maleficent already has 2 lore, so she's already worth Ariel and an item. So Ariel's kind of, you have to be able to put those items down in order to generate the value with her.
Yeah.
But also she goes into a princess deck, so we'll see
True.
how that shapes up. And then Donald Duck, yeah, once again, like I'm not big on his 4-3 stats, but he is a guaranteed 2 lore, which is great. At 5 cost, I don't know how great that is, but as we see more and more things like Genie come into the game, Ward will get better. I just think it's a little bit overcosted right now because they're basically costing it the same as Evasive, and I just think Evasive is better.
Yeah. Yeah, Ward, he definitely needs more support than Evasive does, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Ward and Evasive is that as we get more removal actions and abilities, and Ward gets better and Evasive gets worse.
Yeah.
And then every time we get another evasive character or another half evasive character, Evasive gets worse.
That's true.
So right now, early days, I think Evasive is better, but over time, Ward is going to get better and better, and Evasive is going to get worse and worse.
True.
So then there's also like a little bit of a flip side, like on challenge abilities. As we get more of those, it's going to make Evasive better, and so it's a little bit of a give and take. But
yeah.
I think you bring up a good point there. With the more cards we get with those abilities, the more diluted, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but the more cards we have with it, I think it's just the best way to put it, and it'll make it easier to defend. Like Evasive, if we get more Evasive cards, then it's a lot easier to take out Evasive opponents' characters and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I think these 3 cards bring a lot to the table, and it's a lot of new actions and abilities that, maybe besides, but like more Ariel and Merlin, but all 3 bring different opportunities to the table. So next we have our Amber cards. We do have another new card here from today. We have Simba, who is a 2/2/3, and he's a bodyguard. Goofy is a 5/3/6. He is also a bodyguard. I forgot that's not. And I believe his ability is and 2 for the team, right?
And 2 for T.
2 for T? Okay. There's 2 for T. When you play this character, you may remove up to 2 damage from each of your Musketeer characters, so that healing ability. And Stitch, we have our biggest Stitch, which we got on 626 Day. And it's a 7/4/8 with 2 lore. When you play this character, if you have 2 or more characters in play, you draw 2 cards. So a draw engine, but it's a 7 cost, so have fun getting it out there. It's a good late game draw support to like dig through your deck late game, which I think is something we do need. But in playing like 5 or 6 is where a lot of these decks are like maxing out in ink. So if you want to get that 7 cost out, it may take a little bit, but it is still a viable option. Simba, he's good. I think he will be a good 2/2/3, especially with Bodyguard. He can soak up 1 or 2 hits, hopefully early game. Obviously, they're going to be your 3 attackers that have low costs, but he can still soak up 1 or 2 hits depending on who's coming after you. And then Goofy, another one of our Musketeer cards, healing ability, which I don't know how often we've seen on actual characters. I know like we have Coconut Basket, which heals through an item, but am I thinking of the right card? Right?
Yep.
Just Goofy and Timon right now on characters.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we have like Dingle Hopper, I believe, does some as well, but it's like the second healing we've seen on a character. So yeah, what do you guys think of these Amber cards? Spencer, I'll let you go first.
I'm stoked for every single one of these cards. One, just because I like Amber as a color, and then 2, because this is feeding into the deck archetype that I'm most excited to build, which is a Musketeer with a like tears. That's gonna make you cry. Musketeers tempo support deck. And so the concept behind that is, bodyguards and support characters. And then as your support characters quest, they buff up the bodyguards. And then you're using things like healing and combat tricks like Control Your Temper and Maximus to keep your bodyguards around. So they're clearing the board while your support characters are generating you lore. And the idea is just board control. Hopefully we get some answers for evasive characters, but we'll see. Outside of Steel's direct damage, because it's obviously going to be an Amber Steel deck. But the reason both of these cards fit so well into the deck, and I'm super excited for them. 1, Simba, amazing, because 1, it's just a cheap bodyguard, which is great. I mean, imagine you're playing an Amber Amethyst Stitch Turbo deck, so now the Simba goes straight into that deck. You play a Maleficent, Baby Maleficent turn 1, and then turn 2 you're dropping a Simba and you're tapping that Mal for 2 and getting, you have a bodyguard sitting there saying, "Come at me, bro," and he's higher statted than he should be. So it's great because he's got his total value of stats, is 2/3, so 5 plus 1 for lore is 6, and then bodyguard is another 1, so he's actually a 7, which the average for 2 costs is 6 if you look at Minnie or Donald or any of the other characters that have abilities and have lower stats.
So, Red Donald, to clarify.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a really good card. He's just good just because he's a high value card. His stats and abilities are higher than the average for his cost, so that instantly makes him a good card. As for Goofy, obviously he goes into that whole Musketeer concept. 3/6 for 5, just big chunky butt there on him. So he's protecting your stuff, and then also he alludes to the fact that there are going to be more Musketeers and cheaper cost Musketeers, just so that he has something to heal when he comes down. And so that's super exciting. I expect the Musketeer concept or archetype to be way more than just Mickey, Goofy, Donald. We're expecting Pete, and then I'm expecting us to see Dreamborn and Floodborn Musketeers of characters that aren't in the Three Musketeers movie as the game develops. So far, both of our Musketeers that we've seen have some sort of Musketeer Matters ability. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Musketeers end up being like the slivers of Arcana, which would be super awesome
Ooh.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that. So I'm super stoked for the whole archetype of the Musketeers. And then Stitch, yeah, he costs 7, but he's a 4/8. He's got 2 lore, so he's a solid drop, and then he gets you draw. And around that 7 cost is when things start getting sketchy and you start top decking if you don't have a lot of draw in your deck. So he's great for helping you out in that late game situation. So I think
Yeah.
Blue Stitch is a really solid card. Whether he's going to be probably a 2-drop just because he's legendary, and he's that's something we're talking about, is he's one of the only legendaries we've seen so far that are like potentially worth running 4 of in your deck. Like,
Yeah.
is really solid for a legendary. Usually they're very techy, and he technically is techy. Like, you need to have a good board. And he is a little bit more expensive, but at the same time, he's just really solid all around. So,
yeah. I agree with pretty much all of those points. Yeah, but the only poor thing about Simba is now he is a very viable befuddle target. Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, just think about eventually we'll have a Floodborn Simba.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The day we get a Floodborn Simba,
Sneaky might break the store.
we definitely got 2 very nice Simbas to build off of that now.
I mean, Simba's like not even one of my favorite characters. But yeah.
Speaking of Simba, the other Simba comes in our steel cards. This Simba is a 1/1/2, so the smallest Simba we have, so presumably that Floodborn Simba that we will get in the future will be our tankiest boy. I'm guessing grown-up Simba.
Are all of our Simbas Storyborn?
Storyborn?
That is...
Let me check, because both
Yeah.
the new ones are.
That's
I don't
alright.
know
Do
if
we
Both
have
the
a
new
bigger
ones
Simba? Am I
are.
blanking on a card?
Yes,
Yeah,
the
man,
starter
it's
deck.
on the starter deck.
Oh!
Simba.
The steel run. No? Yeah, the steel one.
Yeah, steel. And he is
He's-
Storyborn. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably don't remember because he's not great.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, baby Simba, so much better than adult to them, which is funny. It makes sense. They're all Storyborn? That's crazy.
All Storyborn Simba so far. Huh.
Well, either we'll get a Floodborn or a Dreamborn Simba. But this baby Simba is a 1/1/2/1. And its ability is, guess what? When you play this character, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. So just kind of like getting through your deck. You have to discard a card, which is unfortunate, but obviously you want to dig through your deck. Another steel card is 8-cost 8/8/8 Maui with 3 lore. This is your straight the beefiest boy we have, biggest boy. Obviously you could expect Maui unless we got like an animal version of him. I think if we got like a shark, what was it, Shark Man?
Yeah.
If we get a card with that would be amazing. That's a dream. That's a pipe dream. But you also have like a bunch of his different animals that he can go into. He like that one scene where he just rifles through them. You have a lot of options there. But obviously Maui, he's a big boy, vanilla, but still late game popping this guy down for 3 lore. Have fun getting rid of this. But then Tinkerbell, Giant Fairy. This card is amazing. You have a 6/4/5 for 2 lore. Obviously, we have the smaller tank, which isn't is it? She's like
3
mini.
cost.
3 cost, yeah.
Yeah.
So this tank is a shift 4. So if you're not having to pay 6, you can pay 4 to get this out. Rock the Boat is her first ability. When you play this character, you'll deal 1 damage to each opposing character. So there's your first AoE area of effect ability. And then Puny Pirate. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may deal 2 damage to chosen opposing character. So just more damage that can go to different places. Honestly, one of the most exciting cards we've got in a long time, I feel like, with the vast range of things she can do. So, Blake, what are your thoughts on these steel cards?
Definitely loving the splash damage that Tinkerbell is bringing. It just occurred to me just a nice way to deal with the Genie 2 because you get that splash damage, attack something else. You can, because Genie's what, a 2/3?
Mm-hmm.
4.
3/4. Not quite enough to get rid of Genie on her own, but still a nice way to chip at evasive characters.
Mm-hmm.
And just the AoE that she brings when you slam her down is just great. Yes, but she is awesome. You're being so noisy. All right. So Simba.
Bears!
Yeah, puppers. Say hi, Scanlan.
Oh, he's saying hi to you.
All right. Yeah, saying hi to me. Yeah, Simba's doing great. With his basic ability, I can see him being a solid staple for most steel decks, and I do notice that his ability does say May, so if you're not wanting to discard anything from your deck, you don't have to activate his ability to draw, so it's not a must-do if you don't want to discard anything from your hand and you've got a solid hand. And yeah, Maui's just a solid high-end card. And I was thinking of a funny idea for Bloodborne Shift Maui, because you mentioned how he transforms into a bunch of different animals in sequence. I remember seeing a clip of that sequence, and he transforms into Sven as a little Easter egg. So if we got a Bloodborne Sven that goes on top of Maui, that would just be hilarious. All right, I'll let you down.
The shift abilities with Maui, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people have talked about, like, they've... I don't know if I want to say this, because then, you get into that whole, like, if a Lorcana team person is watching our podcast sort of situation. But we throw out speculation all the time in here anyways. But people have speculated about, like, there being a low-cost Maui that can... His ability is that anything can shift on top of him, which would be super cool.
Ooh. I don't know about anything, but I feel like maybe like that could be something in the future, and you have to have that keyword to do it.
Like any like type, like any hero can shift on top of Maui.
Yeah, or any like any or was it deity? It says, I believe, on Maui's cards, like any something like that. That could be viable, I think, because if you put anything, you can. I feel like that's too broken. But yeah, I understand. I understand the.
I mean, if his stats are trash, then
True. Very true.
You can balance anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between stats and cost and ink ability, they've got a lot of tools they can use. But yeah, that'll be fun. As for the Maui that we have, like, other than his derpy face, he's awesome. Everybody loves chunky characters, and he's currently the chunkiest. And then 3 lore, like, the value of 3 lore is so underrated. Like, it's so valuable, especially when it's on a giant beat stick like Maui. Like, he comes down, taps through 3, and he's just like, all right, cool, I'm an 8/8. Whatever you send into me is dead. So how much of your board are you going to waste on spend on Maui to get rid of them. Now, of course, there's removal and things of that nature, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast of, it's a card game. If it's your thing is it dies to removal, well, you just got rid of 90% of your cards.
Yeah.
So, Simba, obviously just great value. Filtering on a 1 cost is, phenomenal. Especially if your mulligan didn't go very well for you, then it's just, there as an option. And if you don't want it, or if it's later in the game, he's not valuable, it's ink. What else?
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll see Simba in pretty much every single steel deck. And then Tinkerbell. Oh man, she's so good. Her stats are a little under for a 6 cost, being a 4/5. So really, she's only hitting down, and you're probably only going to be getting her ability off once, unless you've got some bodyguards to protect her.
Which in Seal we do have those bodyguards.
That's true. But being able to shift her on 4, so playing Baby Tink at 3 and then shifting her on 4, then popping off some 1 damage, and then being able to challenge and take something out and then pop off 2 damage into something else is a huge swing turn. So that's going to be crazy threatening. If you're playing against a steel deck and you see them drop a Tinkerbell turn 3, you got to think real hard about whether you're going to be questing that turn or not. Yeah. Then she's got some combo potential. We've been talking about this for a long time with Beast Wolfsbane. So if you drop out Tinkerbell, turn 4, get 1 damage on everything. Then turn 5, if your opponent didn't quest or challenge with anything, well then your Beast comes out. And then anything that they left up that they didn't want to get attacked, or didn't want to tap anything in order to trigger Tinkerbell, well then now Beast taps everything, and so then now not only can Beast take advantage of his rush and take something out, but now Tinkerbell can now attack something and take advantage of her puny pirate ability to ping something else for 2. The combo potential between these 2 cards is so much more valuable than we realized because of this second puny pirate ability. Because we knew Tinkerbell was going to be able to drop down and deal damage to everybody, but having the ability to challenge and then get free cannons out of it at the same time just combos so well with Beast Wolfsbane. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that works out and how valuable it is, how much you can rely on it in the future. But Tinkerbell's nasty. She's just scary. She's a threat.
She's a giant threat.
Yeah, she's a huge tempo piece, which is really nice to see. At the same time, she basically just says, Turbo Stitch, you're done, sir. You're done. Which
could be an auto loss for that deck.
Oh yeah, 100%. Which makes me sad because Rockstar Stitch is still my favorite card. Probably will forever be. It was the card that got me into Lorcana. So seeing Tinkerbell coming and just shutting the deck down so hard is really sad. But at the same time, it's kind of necessary. We needed that early aggro hate, and she brings it, and she brings it hard.
Yeah. I think there's obviously where are we at, probably around 100 right now cards revealed. I don't know the exact number. 99. There you go.
99.
Excuse me. But no, I feel like obviously you're not gonna have. Well, you will have a deck that will run rampant. Someone will create it. But then someone's also gonna find the deck that counters it. I think every TCG has it. I can only think of a few. I can't even think of a single deck in Pokemon that doesn't have a viable counter. It might not be the best counter in the world, but it still has a counter to it, and I think that's something that Lorcana will have, Magic had, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon. You can go on and on, and I think that I think Rockstar Stitch, if it doesn't run into Tinkerbell, then that deck will pop off still, and that just getting straight through that deck and digging through it, I think, is something that we have. We have one more card to talk about. And unfortunately, Ruby hasn't gotten a lot of love lately, and we only have Rapunzel. She is an inkless 6-cost 5/4 with 2 lore. Her ability is Tangle. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. It's good to note that she does have the princess keywords, so that Amber, Ruby, Mulan, Moana deck can come into play.
Lana.
Mulana. Oh, yeah, there you go. I like that. But yeah, Ruby
Where are you, Bedman?
goes one in near out the other. Anyways, no, it doesn't. But Rapunzel, she's not bad. I think that inklessness, so we don't, I don't know, blank, whatever you want to call it, is harming to her. But what do you guys think? I'm probably overshooting this. But what do you guys think about our good pal Rapunzel?
Definitely more valuable in multiplayer, but I still think she's pretty solid. Especially comboing, especially if you get more cards that feed into the chipping away at your opponent's lore with her and Aladdin, and if we maybe get one or two other cards that do this, I can see that just being a strategy to build upon. And she does have two lore herself, so yeah, especially paired with the princesses, as you said, can definitely get a lot of value with that as well in that deck. But other than that, I really love the art. I love the hair lasso.
Yeah. Foil for this card is going to be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of really good art lately. A lot of really good art.
I think we've got a lot of good art all the time.
Yeah.
True.
Only a couple misses, I feel like.
We're looking at you, LeFou.
Why do you not like LeFou? Or do you just like
LeFou
saying?
is fine.
Or do you
I
just
don't
like saying
like-
we're looking at you, LeFou, because it rhymes?
Well, that's true. But I can't. That face, it just does not like. I'm gonna play.
To be
LeFou
fair,
and
did we
Quest for
ever get
Two.
an official picture for LeFou, or do we still only have the picture from the magazine?
Maybe it's a magazine, honestly.
I have no idea.
I think someone like
LeFou
Lorcana might have like redone it and made it look better, but I don't know if we have an official image. But yeah, I like saying LeFou is gonna quest for 2. That's a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, he is going to quest for 2. Let him do his thing. Stop
Hopefully
picking on him, Betty.
Hopefully we get Gaston one day soon, so we can.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I do want to see the Gaston card because it's right there, and if he's not in this set, why do you have that ability?
I mean, yeah. So he's obviously in the set.
Yeah. Nah, he's like in set 4 next year. What are you guys talking about?
I don't remember if it's Ada or Etchy. I always get them confused on the Discord, but one of them is like a Gaston stan, and I don't get it, but I'm looking forward to Gaston as a card.
It is Ada.
Ada.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the Greek letter, not like ETA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
As for Rapunzel, I think anything that is able to manipulate your opponent's lore is valuable, just because it's something that we're not normally able to do. And sometimes you get into situations where if you just one off, and so, where they're able to just make 20, you just need that one more turn, and she might buy you that turn.
Mm-hmm.
So she's good for that. Stat wise, I don't even know. She's not 11 plus her ability, but I think the most exciting thing for her is we're just seeing more of those cards that are more viable that get more viable in multiplayer, which is great because we're going to be seeing different decks in different formats. So your multiplayer decks, might be completely different from your, standard decks, which is, super exciting. It gives more value to different cards. You'll see different cards in different places. It gives you a variety of play styles available to you depending on what you want to do at the time. And so seeing these types of cards that have different viability in different situations, different formats, is really exciting. And that's just kind of how I feel about her.
Yeah. I think overall, like a lot of these higher cost cards we've gotten recently shows that late game, they have thought about it, obviously. But having these cards that are not viable late game and you can want to put more ink down to use them is something that is very fortunate for the game and to be able to do that. Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening to episode 14 of the Glimmer Gang Podcast. Whether you are seeing this on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you choose to tune into our podcast, we want to say thank you for the support. And we all loved these cards. I think there's a lot of good signs with these cards and what is to come. We still have over half the set to see. And we have, on the day of recording, it is 4 weeks till GenCon. 4 weeks from now, we will be running around Indy, getting as much stuff as we can. But for now, we want to say thank you, and everyone, Glimmer on.